The text that we read in the book of Revelation, I'm well aware that even the reading of that text would be scandalous to a person who did not know Christ. I'm also aware that even in the context of what is called American Christianity, the mere reading of that text would be scandalous. Some people would be offended. Even to give the simplest exposition of the text would cause people to get up and walk out of the church. And so it's with great sensitivity that we want to look at this text, and yet we must realize something. It is a part of the Scriptures. I sometimes will hear TV evangelists and things that are quite famous when they're put on the hot seat. They'll say things like, when they're asked why they never speak on judgment or hell, they will often say, well, it's because I just want to teach the words of Jesus. And that demonstrates one of two things. One, either they do not know the words of Jesus, and by their ignorance they're disqualified as a minister of the gospel, or two, they're lying, and in that they're disqualified. Because do you realize that if you delve into biblical theology, which is the studying through the Scriptures book by book, you go through the first 5 books of the law and you almost see no reference whatsoever to hell. You go into the Psalms, very slight, almost nothing. The wisdom literature, all of it. You go into the prophets, and there's very little, if anything, known about hell. When we look at the epistles of the apostles, we really do not glean a lot of information with regard to hell. The person who informed us about hell was Jesus Christ. In his teaching, in the 4 Gospels, where his teachings are recorded, is where we are taught about hell. It's almost that it's such an extraordinary doctrine that God left it up to no one else but his Son. And then when we get to the book of Revelation, never forget, don't think of this as an epistle, but it is the revelation of Jesus Christ. You can't have a utopia if you have evil. And I always find it amazing that some of the loudest proclaimers of political utopia are divorced several times. So if you can't have peace in your own family, how are you going to have peace politically? You see, there's the problem. It's just on different scales. If you look at a very corrupt corporate man who's causing the starvation of millions or something, and you judge that, know that you do the same thing, just different degrees. You see, you're never going to have a utopia as long as there's evil. And the Bible teaches not only a evil, but a personal also evil, which is called the devil, Satan, the accuser. And he has to be eliminated. He has to be removed from creation before you can have a new creation in which dwells righteousness. You see, man really has only one problem, and it's sin. Like if I were to teach fathers today, because I understand it's Father's Day or something like that, I would say your greatest problem as a man is sin. It's not that you're not self-realized or self-fulfilled, no, your problem is sin, and it's selfishness. You get that sin removed, your wife will have a completely different husband. You see, and it's the same way with creation. You've got to remove evil. Now, so we have this transition of the devil's been removed, but now we come in from verses 11 through 15. I'm going to say something very scandalous. Again, I'm talking to those outside of Christ. After removing the evil that is the devil, in order to have a new heaven and a new earth, there's one more evil that has to be removed. It's you. What I want you to know about this throne is that it's God's throne. It's almost as though we wouldn't want to put an indefinite article, a throne. We would almost want to put the throne, but the context proves it to be true. This is the throne of thrones. All other thrones, although we must respect men in authority and men today that sit on so-called thrones, we must respect them, know this. They're nothing more than little children sitting on papier-mâché thrones with little tin crowns on their head. That's all they are. And if you ever come to a point where you fear some politician or some authority, get a better view of God. You won't fear them so much. You'll pity them. Because here is a throne. I wish that all believers, including myself, would get a greater picture of this throne, because it would be such an encouragement. You know, in the year that King Uzziah died, I saw also the Lord high and lifted up, and his train of his robe filled the temple. And above him stood the seraphim, each having 6 wings. With 2 they covered their face, with 2 they covered their feet, and with 2 they did fly. And one cried unto the other, Holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts. The whole earth is full of his glory. And the posts of the door moved at the voice of him who cried, and the house was filled with smoke. What's that all about? It's all about this: in the year that King Uzziah died. You see, Uzziah was Isaiah's friend, I guess you could say, if there ever was a friendship between a king and a prophet. And he died. And Isaiah needed to see a throne. He didn't need a group hug. He didn't need other men to come and just whisper something in his ear to make him feel better about himself. No, he needed to see God. And that strengthened him to the point where he could tell the truth, to the point where, as tradition says, he was sawn in two with a wooden saw, and as they cut him open, he cried out the word of God. How was he able to do that? He saw a throne. He saw something of the one who sat upon it, and according to John chapter 12, the one who sat upon it was the Son. He saw the Son. As a believer, you need to see a throne. As an unbeliever, you need to see a throne and realize you'll be judged by the one who sits upon that throne. Silence. There is sometimes nothing more cutting and sharp than silence. Terrifying, especially for people in our age of media and noise. Silence. No singing. Nothing. Also, there is no lightning and thunder in chapter 20. But there's lightning and thunder in chapter 4. And you say, well, that's a good thing, isn't it? No, it's not. Why? Well, you see, you're misunderstanding lightning and thunder, especially when you look at the giving of the law and you see lightning and thunder. You see, those were given in order to make the event solemn, in order to warn, in order to say, listen! If there was a train that somehow derailed from over there and was running towards these windows right now, I wouldn't go, oh, look, a train. But I would thunder forth, a train! The lightning and the thunder, these manifestations of God, these great epiphanies, are warnings that He really is holy. We really are not, and there is a big problem here, and you need to listen. If there is a small cloudburst or rain shower, you may stand out on your porch and just bask in the beauty of it. But if there is thunder and lightning and it seems that the sky is going to be cracked apart, you run inside and you pay attention to the news. So the fact that there's now no lightning and thunder means that it's been pulled back. God's done with you. No more warning. When I'm teaching my children from the book of Proverbs, something that is a life practice in our home, I'm always telling them, because it's there in the text. Children know this. How many children, especially when they leave the home, no longer heed the warnings of wisdom? And I said, there will be sometimes when you do not heed a warning of wisdom, and your father can come to the rescue and correct it. But there can come a time when you do not heed the warning, and your father, who would move heaven and earth if he could, is going to have to say to you, I cannot help you.